Greetings from the Long Island Sound podcast. Welcome to the show. Please rate, review, and comment on the show, and call our listener line and leave a message for our guest. Dial 631-800-3579. All right, enjoy the show. Welcome to the Long Island Sound podcast, where we explore the Muse and the music, from the North Shore to the South Shore, from New York City to the Hamptons, navigating the wellspring of original music from singer-songwriters and musicians from Long Island, New York. Hi, I'm Steve Yusko from gigdestiny.com. Stay tuned as we explore the Long Island Sound. I was captured by Dave Cristian's performance at Katie's of Smithtown during a WUSB radio station anniversary party. In this episode, we dive into Dave's journey, which spans decades. A chance meeting with a famous Long Island rocker in a local gym helped propel Dave's early career. You'll be intrigued by Dave's vocals and lyrical muse. Let's listen to his song, More Than I Need.
It's good to see you here again, and good to know we make amends. Turn the eye of blind when necessary. Coming back through lost and found, trying not to make a sound, not wanting to disturb the ground we bury. Here we find the path that lasted, pictures of the tasks that casted, photo journals bind these memories. Now I have more than I need, so I will empty all my pockets and do my one good deed for today. I believe. Who are you to come back here and speak to me of all you fear, when everything you've done is turned to dust? I know it's true that nothing new can come to show itself to you, so help to jar my memory if you trust. Letters from a past you carry speak to me in terms I've nearly forgotten all the cause and tragedy. Now I have more than I need, so I will empty all my pockets and do my one good deed for today. I receive and I believe. Novel code, the newer words and song we wrote together, we've created this. Now I have more than I need, so I will empty all my pockets and do my one good deed for today. I receive, so I will empty all my pockets and do my one good deed for today. I believe.
A few weeks back, I had the opportunity to meet our guest, Dave Cristian, who is quite the singer-songwriter, who, like many of my guests, are hard to pin down to just one category. So in today's episode, I invite you on a journey of discovery. On the night I saw him perform, I was impressed by his vocal acumen and astounded by his guitar technique as he moved easily from acoustic to electric. His music has a foundation of funk, a rhythm of blues, and a dose of Americana. Join me on this journey as I say, welcome to the Long Island Sound Podcast, Dave. Good to have you.
How you doing, Steve? It's nice to be here.
I'm doing great. And let me tell you, to fill in the rest of the story, I got to see Dave at a WUSB, kind of like their 45th anniversary party at Katie's in Smithtown. First time I went there, I'm from Babylon, so I'm the South Shore guy. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, the acts that were there, it was a great night. I was there with Rory Kelly. I got fortunate to sit next to her, and then you came up, and I'm like, man, this guy's really good. I really I hope he agrees to be on the program. So I want to thank you for taking the leap into the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate being on here with you. Yeah.
So we were chatting before we jumped into the episode that we're of like mind, where we're trying to expose the singer-songwriters and original music here on Long Island. So it's nice that we have that same motivation in what we're doing. But let's roll the pages back and just tell me, at what point in your life did you pick up an instrument and say, hey, this is something I could do? Did you stumble upon it, musical family? Give me some background, Dave.
Well, yeah, it's surprising to me that there's like no music in my family whatsoever. My dad didn't play an instrument. My mother didn't play an instrument, but I did get exposure at a younger age, in my preteens, through my mother. She used to play the AM radio, 70s AM radio in the kitchen when I was getting ready for school.
Cousin Brucey and...
oh, yeah.
Sure, right?
Yeah, it was great stuff. And that was my exposure to it. And, I had the old little cassette deck, the one that I guess everybody had with the little record button on it. And Nazareth, I was exposed to Nazareth when I was a kid, Simon and Garfunkel. And it was blown away, I don't know why or how, by the vocals. And by the time I was 8, I think it was 8, where I made this decision that I wanted to do this. I wanted to sing, in my life. That's what I wanted to do with my life. And I didn't know what it meant or what it entailed or anything, but that was, I was inspired at that point.
Wow. So it's very similar to me. My father used to joke that he could play the radio. That was about all that he could play. Yeah. But my family had an appreciation of music. So there was music playing in the house and that sort of thing. So now you're leaning towards vocals. Did you start recording yourself? I mean, were you in any choral groups, or where did it kind of progress from that for you? And when did you pick up an instrument?
At that point, I had no interest in playing guitar or anything. My mother, mother was a big influence in terms of my music, more so than I guess everybody else, except for my grandmother. But anyway, at that point, I had no interest. But she, being from the Philippines, she said to me at, I think it was around 12 years old, she says, she got me a guitar and she got me guitar lessons. Says, you have to learn to play guitar because all the men in the Philippines know how to play guitar. And they know how to play guitar so that they can meet girls. And that was the thing. Like they would go out and serenade, I guess, culturally, that was the thing. Anyway, she got me guitar lessons and I was there for about 3 weeks and I hated it. So I stopped playing for a year. And then I guess when I was 12 or 13, I decided I was going to pick the guitar up again and just sort of teach myself.
Well, kind of coincides with adolescence and the hormones. So probably the meet girls part may have been a
driver
influence. Yeah, driver maybe for you.
Right.
So you continued from there, I guess, right? Acoustic guitar, I would assume, right?
I did. I started playing. I just started playing what I had learned a year ago with a year prior with the lessons, and thinking I don't actually know exactly where I went after that musically. I mean, I was I got into the piano. My grandmother bought me a piano when I was about 15, so I started writing a lot on the piano and writing on guitar, and I found it sometimes easier to write my own songs and to learn other people's songs. So I ended up, almost as soon as I picked the guitar up, starting to write. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting because, there's one thing to woodshed your instrument and your vocals. That's another instrument. To then move to that point, which I find very interesting, of writing my own songs or saying to yourself, hey, I can do that, and whether it's an easier road because you can express yourself, how you kind of jump into that. So you're in adolescence and you're already writing songs, right? Do you still have those songs that you wrote earlier in your life, or they're in a shoebox somewhere?
Some of them, I got a crate full of cassettes. I got a bin full of other cassettes, and I actually went back through it and dug some stuff out, but I mean most of it's sort of gone into the past. But I do have a bunch of stuff that's still. I can actually pop it up right now, and I can't play it, but you can listen to it.
Oh, that's cool. That's neat. Yeah. Maybe we'll throw that in at one point of the episode. Yeah. So now, as you progress from an early age where becoming a singer-songwriter was kind of parallel to learning your instrument or instruments, right? How does it strike you today? How does the Muse? What's your approach? I guess what's your process, or is there a process, or how do you approach songwriting now?
Yeah.
I know that's it. That's a tough question, maybe, right?
It's a huge question because it's like, and I've actually written a bunch of stuff on this where it's almost the hardest question to answer as a songwriter because it like, okay, so the process, the practical process for me is I get spontaneously inspired when I'm playing something, especially if I'm playing like a new instrument or a different sound or something like that. It'll start pulling me somewhere, and then there'll be a melody in my head. It's like, okay. Sometimes what'll happen is, there'll be a melody with some sounds attached to it, and like I'll start mumbling something, and then they'll form into words, and like somewhere in there's a thought, and then it'll form itself into a line that's got a hook, so it sort of develops organically from itself. I mean, that's one start of an approach. The other start is so most of the time it's really passive, and it like I can't sit down and say I'm going to write a song. Usually it comes to me and says, you're going to write me now. Okay. Seriously. And then I'll literally have to jump on it and pay attention until the song is done with me, and we're done with each other, and it's done, So I it's funny because I took a couple of days off last week, and I brought my guitar with me, and I hadn't picked it up in a while. It's like that initial guilt of like, I should be doing this more. My fingers hurt because they haven't built the calluses back up. And I just hit on a few notes. So I was going back and forth between a few frets. My wife happened to be sitting there, and she goes, "Hey, that sounds pretty nice. Mm-hmm. How do you remember that?" I said, "Well, usually I can record it on my phone to remember it, or maybe I'll write, okay, I'm here, there. I don't even know what notes I'm playing. It just sounded cool. But I'm one of those people that's going to go into the ether unless I act on it." Mm-hmm. And that's what I think with the singer-songwriters that I've talked to is the difference between you and I. Well, one, you have a lot of talent and I don't. The other thing is that you act on your inspiration till it's done with you. I think that's an interesting way that you look at it. It's not done with me till it all comes out, Yeah, and like you said, it like goes off into it'll literally go off into ether, like the slightest little nuance of a melody or rhythm in the melody, in what's coming out. You think you have it in your brain, and then if you don't put it on tape, or if you don't pay attention to it at the time that it's happening, it'll be gone. Because I think it's attached integrally to the emotion that you're feeling at that given moment. And once that moment is gone, your attachment or your connection to that interpretation of it goes with it. you know, and you can't get it back, you know.
I got a question for you. It's a left field question.
Mm-hmm.
Have you performed and then gone off on a lead or a jam, right, with some phrasing, and then come back to it after hearing it? Or I don't know. I don't even know if you watch yourself after it's recorded. Maybe you're recorded.
Mm-hmm.
You know, someone's recording video. Have you ever jammed out and then, you know, maybe you stumble upon it like, well, yeah, that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever revisit that, and does that become part of a song?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah, because there, like there's okay. There's a song. I remember when I wrote the first line of this song. I was standing in the middle of a party before we were supposed to play. I had my guitar, my acoustic guitar on me, and I just started, like, it just came out of my fingers, you know, and I just started playing this thing. It was really simple chords. It was like a D with, you know, a D with a descending thing, but it had a, you know, a very specific melody about it. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to remember that, you know. And that, you know, it's almost like what you're talking about with jamming, but it also happens in that context too, where you're jamming a lick and then it becomes part of the song. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's
yeah.
there's the jamming in performance and the noodling when you're not performing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That you can kind of act on it. That's kind of neat. But that's I think the demarcation line of taking it and now letting it develop within you to put it into some sort of framework. You know,
but
that's special.
When you run into it though, do you know, like I like when I came across the line for Celebration at that party, I was like, oh my God, I didn't know it was going to be a song, but I knew that this is a really cool lick that I have to remember, you know? So when you come across those licks, do you feel that as well?
Yeah, it's a couple of things affect me differently. One, it's like, all right, this is a cool groove, and it's catchy. You know, to me, it's catchy, so I think that's cool. But then when it comes to writing lyrics or poetry, and more writing poetry for me or creative writing, and maybe because I'm a 61-year-old guy now, I get actually emotional if I hit a emotional thought in it. Where it sounds stupid.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
She's like, Dad, you're getting choked up of something you wrote yourself. It's like, you know, is that like the least humble thing you could ever do, you know? But I don't know if the spirit strikes you that, you know, raises it just did on my the hair on your arms type of thing. Maybe it'll strike somebody else, you know, if it gets developed, you know. So
I'm going to make a comment on getting emotional when there's songs that, you know, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff where like, you know, I've written it. When I wrote it, I was just bawling, you know.
Okay.
And there's songs where I've written them years ago, and I can't perform them live because I can't get past a certain part in it without getting choked up.
Interesting.
And yeah, it's just, and it's, I don't know. It's these neural pathways that get, you know, that you can't reroute, you know, they're just there. And this is what triggers, you know, this is going to trigger that emotion, you know, and that's it.
But that's I think that's where creativity comes in and inspiration. But let's do this, Dave. Let's just take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about the song More Than I Need that our audience got to hear. And then I want to talk a little bit about how you approach collaboration, whether it's in songwriting or performance, because it's with everyone, it's oh so different. So hang with us, everybody. We'll be back with Dave Cristian. There's a lot more music and a lot more things to come. Hi, Steve Yusko from Gig Destiny here. Well, as you're probably listening to this podcast, you're probably thinking about that musician who would make a fantastic guest here on the Long Island Sound. Well, we'd like to hear their story. We'd like to hear their music. So have them reach out to us at gigdestiny.com and we'll explore their craft. Now, back to our podcast. Hey, everybody, we're back with Dave Cristian. And Dave, we heard the song More Than I Need. That was a lead in to give an introduction of your music to people. We had a sidebar talking about this, and I was a little confused by the song, and I never like to ask what the song means, but maybe you can tell me a little bit about the dynamic between the two Daves in the song? Just to give a little hint.
So part of the concept that it was triggered on was one where I'm running into my old lyrics or running across old pictures of, somebody who I used to be and somebody from the past who was speaking to me now, and we're two different people, but we've come to the same place together, in some way, and and that's sort of, in a larger way, it reflects society as a whole, if you want to take it there.
Right. I mean, if I wanted to talk to younger Steve, I'd probably slap him around a lot and tell my younger self to kind of snap out of certain things, with the experience that I have now. But now I have my wife to do that, so
there you go.
She tells me to snap out of it. We've got a good yin and yang going. Totally two different people. But it's what I like about the singer-songwriter, and what you can do is you can kind of pull out these nuggets of things that help us to reflect about where we are today. Even just the title, More Than I Need. What's interesting, the younger me was grasping at survival and things and gaining and capitalism and all the kooky stuff that you think you don't have. And then as we become maybe reflective in our elder years, you know what? I do have more than I need. I have food on the table. I have a house over my head. I have people that love me. That's all I need, and it's good to reflect
Absolutely.
on that, So you give us that. So now I'm going to switch gears here in that I assume that you're more of a sole practitioner when it comes to writing your songs, meaning you write the lyrics and the music. How do you approach hitting the studio once you have the song kind of formed?
Slowly. takes years.
Okay.
Very gingerly. I want to get in and record stuff right away. What I found is that I find that I'm never happy with an end product. I'm a control freak in the studio, so it's hard for me to hand it over to somebody else, because it's like you put so much time and effort and thought and money sometimes into recording this thing that's going to be, this is the final version. It may not be the final version, but it's the version of this song that's going to go out and be on permanent record. So it may morph from there, but I always want to make sure that when I listen back to this recording that I made, I'm not going to cringe at certain parts or be distracted by something.
Okay. So
when I go in and I edit, it's like putting your face up against the glass and seeing every tiny little detail, and then stepping back and then, seeing it for the whole thing. And it's really tedious process for me because I pull out all the little things and put everything where I need it to be.
Mm-hmm. So you do it? Do you lay down your own tracks in your home studio with other musicians, or you do different parts yourself? Or
sometimes,
what's that process for?
There's a couple of recording projects worked on through the decades. The latest one, More Than I Need, was done here in my home studio exclusively. So I had a ridiculous amount of control over the outcomes, which is good and bad, because sometimes it can make it sterile if you're too much like that, and we try not to be sterile. And then there's the other end of the spectrum where I recorded with a band called Finally Balanced, and I just relinquished all control of everything, and there's benefits to that because it goes places that it wouldn't otherwise have gone. So somewhere in the middle is the ideal place to be. But right,
the happy place. Yeah.
So I mean, ideally, what I'd like to do is be able to record with a band that I wouldn't have to go back and change things so that it's not driving me insane. 10 years down the road where I go,
I got you.
Man, I wish I changed that part, So
It's almost like an engineer. At one point, you got to go, this is the end date. It's going to be finished. So it's going to be finished. You almost have to stop engineering.
Right. Yeah.
At one point, right? You got to, or you'll drive yourself nuts, and you'll have long fingernails, and you'll be, catching butterflies in the closet.
No, it does.
Or
It drives
something,
me insane.
yeah.
It's a daunting process. It really is.
So for the lay person, do you now take what you've laid down and have somebody master it, or you're mastering it as well after you lay down?
No, I haven't gotten the mastering process down. I think that takes a whole bunch of different equipment that I don't have access to, and experience that I don't have access to. Yeah, I hand it off, and they take it and they boost it up. And I've been working with a guy named Roger Lee and on the last couple of things, and he does great.
Yeah, what's amazing is they have that ear that they pick things out that, at least as me as a novice goes, holy cow, I didn't think about that. Even putting this podcast together, I went through a learning curve of several months to figure out how do I balance myself and my guest. We're in two different rooms, that sort of thing. We're doing it virtually. And then finally, I kind of figured it out, but it was a little bit of hunt and peck for a little while, So, but I've gotten some good kudos, so I'll take it, But you can't get to that. I get to that point too, where it's like, I can take out every and artifact that somebody has, but if I do that, it's not going to be a natural conversation, and it's going to sound weird. Yeah, it's going to become sterile, and people are going to go, it doesn't sound real. To us, as we go through that, I'd like to jump into this. I'd like to talk about, we touched on this earlier, about promoting singer-songwriters and original music here on Long Island. And you have a project you've done with Toby Tobias, who's, by the way, going to be a future guest here in August. It'll be up there. Really great guy from South Africa. Great singer-songwriter. Tell us about how that came about.
Sure. It's the OMC. Of Long Island. It's the OMC. Yep.
OMC?
It's the original music collective of Long Island. And it was founded by myself, Toby, and Michelle, my girlfriend. And it's the three of us. We organize shows. Most of them have been 3-band showcases of original bands. And, we've been doing it at a couple different clubs. We started back in 2020, and then COVID hit. So that, just shut the whole process down. I think we did 1 or 2 official shows, and we had like 5 of them, lined up, and we just had to cancel everything. And then, we picked it back up earlier this year. We started off at 89 North, with the 3-band showcase. That was, it was my band, it was Toby's band, and it was Project Vibe. It turned out to be a nice show. It was really good. And, we've been trying to build momentum with it. And, the purpose is to, give platform to original bands in a way that will elevate the scene enough to, inspire club owners to put original bands in their clubs on the weekends, and bring exposure to people who otherwise wouldn't have had it.
Yeah, and you know what? You bring out a really good point, because I know of, let's say, a handful of clubs around Long Island who are either have venue owners that are musicians themselves who open the floor to original music. Then the other end of the spectrum, this is not a disparaging statement, but you have the time of the tribute band. And many of these tribute bands are great, but they have original music, and they're kind of like sneaking in an original song here or there, but they're really not just going out and saying, we're doing our original stuff, or finding the venues that'll do that. And, there are small bars. I think the approach of open mics and that sort of thing, or these showcases, are great, because you can prove to the venue owner, hey, this can be successful, and you're sowing the seeds to build an audience to come to your venue. If you jump in the pool and go with it. Same with the podcast here. It's really how can I give another platform of music that I've heard, like yourself, right? I heard you out of the blue at Katie's in Smithtown, who's a big promoter of original music, right? And I'm like, I wish my friends were with me there because I'm like, wow, this guy's really good. I'm not blowing smoke up your skirt. You were really good. I really enjoyed your stuff. I wouldn't ask you to be on the podcast if I didn't think so. And how do you expose that out? Because what's on the other side of the spectrum? The other side of the spectrum is I produce my music. I put it out in the ether on Spotify. If I don't get 1 million hits, I'm not earning $3, you know, whatever. I don't know what the math of it is, but it's really tiny, you know. So the only other way to make it financially is to do festivals and to get that exposure to build a following. I mean, really, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, that, and I mean, for me personally, it's having people hear my original music, you know, and I think, I mean, I believe that's the case with a lot of the original performers is that it's not even a matter of the money, although the money would be great because it would support the music. But I think it's a matter of really just being able to get your music heard, you know, put it in front of people, you know, and that's, yeah. And like, you know, with the OMC, what we've been able to do, I think is like you were saying, like we're bringing people from different avenues of the music scene on the island and putting them in the same room together and going, hey, have you heard these guys? Have you heard these guys? You know, like they haven't, you know, like yourself, you were exposed to things at that show that, you know, wouldn't have otherwise been there for you, you know? Yeah.
Right. You know, it's interesting. The original singer-songwriters on Long Island know a lot about each other. They don't always get to play because they're working to get gigs and what have you out there, you know, but they'll run into each other. And that's where I call it the handoff, you know, hey, you got to talk to Brother Dave. You got to go to this guy. This guy has really great stuff. Okay. How do we expose that? If you're open to it, you know, I'd like to do another episode where we kind of focus in on you and Toby and your approach. And now that things are cleared up, you know, as you hit more venues, I'd love to do just something on that because it's something that we have are like-minded about, you know, and kind of promote it and, you know, kind of toss it out to the venues. Hey, we're going to talk about your venue, you know, so you may want to spread the word that way and get the exposure up. I want to talk, before we get too deep into everything, let's talk about the song Ordinary. And just give me a little lead into that, and then we'll have our audience have a listen to it. That song,
I remember writing it in my backyard back in, actually, it was in Bayshore. My daughter was, I think, around 5, I guess. So anyway, yeah, I mean, that's sort of, that was the inspiration. It was like it was at that point in my life, I was a dad of my 5-year-old daughter, and I had a stepdaughter who was 15, and, you know, I had a dog and 2 cats. Like I wasn't doing a whole lot of music, but I was writing, you know. That's when I was writing the music for the first, and that's you know, that whole scenario inspired that song.
Great. All right, everybody, let's have a listen to Ordinary. We'll be right back after the song. Check it out.
Danny, don't you believe when they show you the sign says over? No, never once could I leave, 'cause I believe you're the best to come. Change it be by surprise. Cried a little, but I survived it now. Can I think back and laugh? I don't know. I hope they never ask for a perfect performance. Unbroken silence. We're doing the best that we can. We have been ordinary. There below all the fight, solid promise some way rises, carry all of us through. Nothing new, 'cause this is what we do. Danny, got to believe. They don't know, they never stop to look for a perfect performance. Unbroken silence, we're doing the best that we can. We have been ordinary. We are extraordinary. To believe when they show you the sign says over, no, never once could I leave. They don't know, they never stop to look for a perfect performance. Unbroken silence, we're doing the best that we can. We have been ordinary. Extraordinary.
Hey, that was a really great song, Dave. I really appreciate you bringing it to the table. And before we get too deep, I want to just bring to the audience's attention anybody that we mention. Dave's links, where his music is, there'll be chapter marks. So if you want more information on anyone we talk about, like the project you're doing with Toby, that'd be great. You'll see it in the chapter marks.
Right. So I should mention also that Michelle Francis is a huge part of the OMC operation. I mean, you know, we all three work together on things, and she's the primary photographer and videographer for what we do. And if you go to our Facebook page, which is our primary exposure point, it's OMC of Long Island. So Facebook, OMC of Long Island, check that out. We have a bunch of stuff from, the past 3 years of work. And nice. Like us, and you'll see our postings.
Hey, thank God we got that in, because if this was published and we didn't mention her, you'd be in deep shit. That's all I'm saying, because I know my wife occasionally listens to my podcast because I always talk about her, and I'm kind of snide about this and that. And I always can tell when she didn't listen, because she never brings up like, oh, you had to say that about me. They think I'm a bitch, all this other stuff. So.
There you go.
So we got Michelle in there, which is great. Hey, tell me this: how did you cut your teeth? You weren't a solo act your whole life. I mean, what do you tell me what you had in the past and where you're going in the future and what you're doing now? How's
sure.
that?
Well, I don't know how much we want to go back, but it's interesting though. Back in high school, I was in a band called Revelation. It was really like my first real band. We did all the variety shows and everything else, and we ended up. Where was
high school for you?
Massapequa High School.
Where'd you go?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great.
So right next to Massapequa High School was a bagel place, and next to that was a gym. And in the gym, Dee Snider used to work out. So we'd see from Twisted Sister. So as little high school kids, we'd see Dee Snider with the big hair coming out of the gym, and it was so somehow or another we got a demo together, and we got it to Dee Snider. And it was really cool. So he took to us because we had this great girl singer, Rhonda Taglianti, and her sister. That's what the band was formed around. She's a guitarist who actually went on to do a bunch of really big things with Dee later. But anyway, he picked it up, sent us to his producer, and I think we had Ron Delsner come down and see us, and really these it was crazy.
Ron Delsner from the Midnight Special,
I think it was
right?
Didn't he? I could be wrong, but it's a long time ago. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. We didn't, we took it all for granted. We thought we were rock stars, and anyway, we he lost interest in us because I think, you know, we didn't have the maturity to do what he wanted. But we did get to open up for Leslie West and Mountain back in high school, which was really cool.
Oh man, that's huge.
It was pretty cool.
I heard he's passed, but I heard he was a very nice, really good guy. Leslie West.
Yeah. And then, you know, after that, you know, high school was you know, the high school rock star days, and then, you know, reality comes. And anyway, you know, I was in a few bands, and I joined this band, formed a band called Final Cry. We have a few demos out. And then that led into a band called Finally Balanced with a poet, Billy Capozzi, who we worked with for number of years. We did a bunch of stuff. We released an album called Fondue back in '98, and you can still actually get that on Bandcamp, which is kind of cool. We just put that up there. I still actually play with the guys. Unfortunately, Billy passed back in 2012, but me and the other guys, we still play every now and then.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I released my solo album in 2005. My first solo album called The First, and then leading on another 10 years, we're going to skip everything in between, I ended up playing with a band called the Walk-A-Bout, and that's I think started back in 2017. Those guys were formed, and they invited me in to do some session work as a guitarist, and I ended up singing some vocals, and then they invited me to play their CD release. So I ended up, you know, on two of their albums, and I have two songs on their 2020 album. One is called Hero, and the other is I Am. And I think it's actually getting some airplay because we're still on the record. We're still on the charts. Certain charts around the world. I keep getting notifications.
So they have some sort of Australian. The Walk-A-Bout sounds like an Australian band.
Well, yeah. Sully, the lead singer. Because Sully was doing the lead singer. I was lead guitar, and he's Australian. So that's the cultural connection.
Cool. Yeah. Nice. Now you have the Dave Cristian project, right? Which is foursome, threesome, or
we're always aspiring to be four-piece, but sometimes you know we can't do it, or the venue doesn't call for it, so we do the three-piece acoustic, which is.
Were those the guys who played with you at Katie's during the WUSB thing? Okay, yeah. That was great. It had such to me it was like a great funky sound to it. Just had a great riff to things you were doing. It was just kind of unique. That's what kind of caught it really was upbeat for me. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Thanks.
You know. So it was really neat. So let's talk about this. So we did More Than We Need. We did Ordinary. Let's talk about the song Delusional, and let's then we'll let the audience listen to that, and then we'll come back after the song. Tell me about Delusional. I've been called that, by the way, but I'm not going to go into that right now. It gets me upset.
So this song, there's a few songs. There's maybe 3 songs in my life that came to me in a way like this actually did like it came to me all in one string. Like it was bizarre. Like I was sitting there and it just started strumming this simple 3-chord pattern, and just the words just came out in whole thoughts in line, you know. So it actually it came out as it's performed now. I didn't have to,
really.
I don't think I had to edit anything back, but it came out in one solid stream of consciousness. It was bizarre.
That's a gift for a guy who's a perfectionist and on top of things to have it all flow out that way.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, the song is obviously a metaphor for life, you know. So the song is the life.
Let's have a listen to Delusional and hang on to your seats. We'll be right back after it.
What will they say when the song ends? Did it build all of the time? And what will they say when the truth bends? Maybe the failure was mine, and maybe it could have been better. The verse could have been more profound. Things that were said nearly moved me, but the chorus kept getting me down. And the part where he cried was a train wreck. I would have done anything else. What will be said about all of the things I've done? Will they remember some of the good? Then it came back from the mayhem, thinking it spoke from the soul, claiming to know where the truth lies, saying it's better we don't. And then there's the build-up through the metaphor, hope for salvation from the inner war. Interpretation clearly delusional, lousy arrangement clearly confusional. Songs, but who listens to all that our souls have to say about all of the life that we're living every God-given day? I think my song could have been better. Could I had something to say? Maybe it's all I can hope for you to remember this day, with me standing here right in front of you, sharing all my tears, all the things I do, playing the song I live and I give to you, trying to rise above believing I rise.
Hey, everybody. We're back after hearing Delusional, back with Dave Cristian. And we had a sidebar that we were talking about someone who played on one of your albums. So tell us about
Sure. I on the first, I had Buddy Cage, the Buddy Cage. I had the great privilege to have him play on that record on, I think, 4 or 5 tunes. And I just wanted to mention it because, you know, it's a proud aspect. I'm proud of that, that I got to play with Buddy Cage.
So for those of us who don't know Buddy Cage, maybe you can tell us a little bit about Buddy, and then we'll have a link about Buddy as well. I'm sure there's info on him in the
Sure. His he came up through the New Riders of the Purple Sage, and he actually taught he actually taught Jerry Garcia, from what I understand, how to play the pedal steel. Like, he was Jerry Garcia's teacher. We used to run into him at festivals when I was playing with Finely Balanced up in the Harvest Fest and all the Robbie Robinson's hemp fests, and And he would sit in with bands on the stage. So we got to know him through that because he had sit in with us almost every time we played up there. And, I guess we exchanged numbers. And when I was doing the record, I said, I got to have Buddy Cage on this. And I asked him if he would do it. And he said, absolutely. So, he came down to my house and we spent a Saturday afternoon recording, just recording tracks and tracks and tracks. And I think, I have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure we ended up using, his recordings, his cuts on like 4 or 5 different tunes on the record. Yeah. And if anybody gets a chance, you should really check out, my song For You, because he just does this beautiful part on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. That's excellent. I tell you, that points to the generosity of musicians in general, without a hesitation. It sounds like he said yes.
He did. Yeah.
Which is great. So what projects do you have coming up? What's in the short-term future for you, Dave?
Sure. So, I've been working on, honing the band, Dave Cristian project for a few years, went through a couple of member changes, and now, we currently have a nice lineup. I have Drew Bertran on the drums, and he was actually the drummer and the producer for the Walk-A-Bout. And we go back a long ways too. We go back into the 90s. Have common friend groups, and we did a lot of jamming back then as well. Anyway, he's playing with the Dave Cristian project as the drummer. I have Henry Goode on the bass, and Doug Leax on the keys. And anyway, we play as a full band whenever we can, and then when it calls for it, we do the 3-piece acoustic like you had seen us. And I'm currently working on a bunch of recordings. I mean, I'm trying to do song. I have 23 songs that have to get recorded, and so we're trying to take it a little bit piece by piece, and trying to get as much done as possible. It's a time-consuming endeavor and a labor of love, obviously. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, let me tell you, Dave, in the beginning of this episode, I promised my listeners that I would take them on a journey of discovery. And we really did. I mean, I discovered things, from Dee Snider to, all these different people that were involved in your life, over the many decades that you've been playing. I really look forward to seeing you guys playing live again, because it was just kind of a magical night. It was just really to me, it's like, wow, this guy's good.
Thank you, Steve. That appreciate it.
So, and I look forward to you banging these songs out and throwing on a couple of albums, when you get to it. And thanks for sharing, some of the intimacies of how you approach music. And I end my podcast a lot like this, where, we can account for the things we own, what we need and what we don't need, but we can't always account for how much time we have on this earth. And the fact that you gave me, a couple hours here of time, I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, and you and me, Steve, appreciate, you having me on and doing this. This is great.
Well, we're going to have you on again with the other project with Toby, I hope. So I'm going to be twisting your arms to nail you down for that with Michelle. So we look forward to that. And thanks, everybody. Until next time, we'll see you. Be well. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the time you spent with us. Please subscribe and comment, and visit us at gigdestiny.com. Till next time, be generous with your joy, keep your spirits high, and let the music take you on a journey. Be well. Peace. Thanks so much for listening. Please rate, review, and comment on the show. We really love to hear from you. And call our listener line at 631-800-3579. Again, thanks so much. Be well.